Right, I am frequently mocked for my long rambling introductions on this channel, so today, since the premise is so simple, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. These are the highest earners from all 32 2022 World Cup squads, and both a few of the results and how much they earn might shock you along the way, or at least, a few of them shocked me. That isn't me, by the way, just to be clear. Without further ado then, here is the highest earner in every 2022 World Cup squad. Argentina, Lionel Messi. No surprises to get us started, since Lionel Messi is the third highest paid footballer on the planet, in terms solely of the salary he receives from his club, which is what this video is based upon, and he was the highest paid athlete in the world in 2022 according to Forbes, raking in a tidy $130 million, or around $9 million more, than second place LeBron James. That still wasn't enough for Messi though, at least it would seem, who also signed a multi-million-dollar deal to help sportswash the despotic Saudi regime. Ironically, Argentina and Saudi Arabia have now tabled rival bids to host the 2030 World Cup, putting Messi in rather an awkward predicament. Don't you feel bad for him? No, not at all. Messi reportedly earns £670,000 a week before tax at PSG, cue the jokes about £670,000 after tax as well, which puts him way out in front of any other Argentina players, and he's also been way out in front of any other Argentina players in terms of his performances at this World Cup, even at the age of 35. Australia, Aaron Mooy. The lowest paid top earner in any 2022 World Cup squad, Aaron Mooy earns a reported £20,000 a week at Celtic, which is around 33.5 times less than Lionel Messi. One would imagine that Mooy's various endorsement deals are also worth a little bit less than the Argentines. Not to worry though, Mooy's salary still works out at more than £1 million a year, which puts him firmly among the top 0.1% of earners in the UK, and the Aussie should already have built up a fairly healthy nest egg, having earned a reported £60,000 a week for a couple of seasons playing in China. The former Huddersfield Town star joined Celtic in the summer, reuniting with his old boss Ange Postecoglou in Glasgow, and he remains a key man for the Socceroos at the age of 32. Belgium, Eden Hazard. No longer a Belgian international following this World Cup, having retired from international football, Eden Hazard was the highest earner in Belgium's hugely disappointing World Cup squad, despite having done next to nothing since signing for Real Madrid in 2019. Hazard, who is one of the most naturally gifted footballers of his generation, is still on the same 5-year deal that he signed with Madrid in 2019, reported to be worth £384,000 a week. That means that, in wages and fees, Hazard is likely to have already cost Real Madrid in excess of €200 million over the last 3.5 years. In exchange for that sum, Hazard has played just 72 games, many of them off the bench, scored 7 goals, and made 11 assists, plagued by injuries, and largely benched even when fit. Remarkably, Kevin De Bruyne, who is Belgium's best player by a mile, is only their third highest earner, behind both Hazard and Romelu Lukaku. Brazil, Neymar. Brazil might have had a dizzying array of talent within their World Cup ranks, but that doesn't change the fact that Neymar still earns almost 3 times as much as anyone else within their squad. Potentially having just played in his last World Cup, age 30, which ended in defeat in the quarter-finals against Croatia, Neymar earns a reported £810,000 a week at PSG, having signed a new long-term contract with the Parisians in 2021. The 3 highest paid players in world football, and indeed at this World Cup, all play for Paris Saint-Germain. And Neymar is also the most marketable athlete in South America, taking his total 2022 earnings up to a whopping $95 million, according to Forbes at least. The second highest earner in this Brazil squad is actually Casemiro, who recently signed a 4-year deal reported to be worth £300,000 a week with Manchester United. Cameroon, Vincent Aboubakar. A bit of a cult hero of the 2022 World Cup, Vincent Aboubakar became somewhat of a meme online after he doubled down on his claim to be just as good as Liverpool's star Mohamed Salah, but whilst the Egyptian watched on from home, Aboubakar recovered from being dropped by Cameroon to come on and score an iconic scoop against Serbia, which he almost certainly only attempted because he thought that he was offside, and he added a second World Cup goal by scoring an injury-time winner in Cameroon's final group game against Brazil, only to then pick up a second yellow card for taking off his shirt and being dismissed. Reportedly paid just shy of £100,000 a week by Saudi Arabian side Al Nassr, Liverpool's Joel Matip is actually Cameroon's highest earner, but since he retired from international football over 7 years ago, it is his Liverpool teammate tormentor Aboubakar who takes this one for Cameroon. Canada. Alphonso Davies. One of the most disproportionately high earners in comparison to the rest of their international teammates at this World Cup, Alphonso Davies earns a reported £165,000 a week at Bayern Munich, which is still a lot less than plenty of inferior footballers, but it is nonetheless almost 5 times as much as any other Canadian. Jonathan David is the second highest earner in the Canada squad, supposedly on around £35,000 a week at Lille, and few could argue that Davies deserves to earn a heck of a lot more than any of his international comrades. Costa Rica. Keylor Navas. From one of to the most disproportionate earner within any World Cup squad, Keylor Navas earns a quite incredible 8 times as much as anyone else who made Costa Rica's 2022 World Cup squad. That is despite Navas now playing second fiddle to Gianluigi Donnarumma at PSG, who, admittedly, does still earn quite a lot more than him. The Parisians are paying Navas a reported £200,000 a week and will do up until 2024, which is enough to pay Costa Rica's second highest earner, Joel Campbell at Club Leon, for 2 entire months. In fairness, Navas is by far the best player in the Costa Rica squad and arguably their greatest of all time, so his astronomical earnings in comparison to the rest of their squad does make some sense in that context. Croatia. Luka Modric. Age 37, Luka Modric remains both Croatia's best player and their highest earner, quite frankly encroaching upon all-time great territory in his position at this stage, and certainly a top 5 midfielder of this millennium as far as I'm concerned. It is mind-boggling to think that Modric was already almost 27 years old when he left Tottenham to join Real Madrid, given everything that he has since achieved. Almost faultless in his decision-making and technique, Modric's energy and stamina for his age are remarkable, so much so that if it came out that he was on some kind of performance-enhancing drugs, you would have to say, yeah, that kind of makes sense. To be clear, just in case any lawyers might be watching, I am not suggesting that he is. Just that his superhuman performance levels would make it a little bit less surprising. Modric earns a reported £278,000 a week at Real Madrid, which is a fair chunk more than Croatia's second and third highest earners, Marcelo Brozovic and Ivan Perisic. Denmark. Andreas Christensen. I must admit, I was quite surprised to discover that Andreas Christensen reportedly earns almost £200,000 a week at FC Barcelona. Those are the perks of moving on a free transfer, given the increased leverage you've got, and the fact that the buying club hasn't had to pay a transfer fee. But that is still quite some salary for a good, but perhaps not quite world-class centre-back. Denmark's next highest earner, unsurprisingly, is Christian Eriksen, followed by Pierre-Emil Højbjerg, but even he only earns half of what Christensen is on. Ecuador. Pervis Estupiñán. Ecuador's 2 best players both play for Brighton, but there is a huge disparity between what they earn. Pervis Estupiñán is said to be on a salary of £60,000 a week on the south coast, meanwhile Moises Caicedo is reportedly on a rather more modest £25,000 a week. Admittedly, I wish I was on a salary that was that modest. That is most likely because Estepinian is 24 and arrived at Brighton from Villarreal, whilst Caicedo just turned 21 and joined the Seagulls directly from Latin America. Nonetheless, Caicedo is the star, and if Brighton want to keep him on, they will have to probably treble or quadruple his salary, and sharpish. England, Raheem Sterling. Slightly surprising to a lot of people, I would imagine. I most likely would have guessed that Harry Kane was England's top earner, yet he is actually tied in 6th place, along with the likes of John Stones and Harry Maguire, on a reported £200,000 a week. When you put it like that, and in comparison to some of the other salaries at this World Cup, the 6-year deal that Kane signed at Spurs in 2018 looks to have been a bit of a shocker. Raheem Sterling is England's highest earner, though only because of his move to Chelsea, where he signed a 5-year deal, reported to be worth £350,000 a week. Oddly enough, the second highest paid English footballer, namely Jadon Sancho, didn't even make England's 2022 World Cup squad. France, Kylian Mbappé. The highest paid player on the planet in terms of salary alone and not taking various endorsement deals and brand partnerships into account, it is pretty well documented that Kylian Mbappé signed a ludicrous contract at PSG over the summer, and it is reported that Mbappe's total remuneration, including all bonuses and sign-on fees, will work out at €630 million over the next 3 years, or, in other words, €4 million a week. That is what is officially known within the business as being absolutely bloody mental. In terms of Mbappe's actual playing salary, that is said to be close to £900,000 a week, well over double France's next highest earner, Raphael Varane. Germany, Manuel Neuer and Joshua Kimmich. The first, and indeed the only tie in this entire video, Manuel Neuer and Joshua Kimmich both play for the same club, and they are reported to be on identical contracts worth just shy of £300,000 a week. As with Cameroon, the highest paid German footballer wasn't actually named in Germany's World Cup squad since, like Joel Matip, Toni Kroos has retired from international football. There is little to split a handful of top earners within the Germany ranks, though one suspects that Jamal Musiala could leave them all for dust over the next couple of years. Ghana, Inaki Williams. The highest paid player in the Ghana squad was born in Bilbao and was capped by Spain in 2016. Inaki Williams, whose younger brother Nico represented Spain at this World Cup and was once again very impressive, made his only appearance for Spain in a friendly against Bosnia and Herzegovina, thus giving him the opportunity to switch his national allegiance over to Ghana, which he did in July 2022. Williams earns a reported £190,000 a week at Athletic Club, which is quite some going, and it puts him just ahead of Thomas Partey, who is the only other Ghanaian to earn anything like that kind of money. Iran, Sardar Azmoun. The fact that Sardar Azmoun earns almost twice as much as anyone else in the Iran squad would suggest that Mehdi Taremi won't stick around for long at Porto unless he is offered a bumper new deal immediately, and even then they might struggle. After being named as the 2020-21 Russian Premier League Player of the Season, Azmoun joined Bayer Leverkusen on a free transfer in January, agreeing a deal which is said to be worth almost £55,000 a week. Azmoun notably took a public stance against Iran's tyrannical government during the ongoing Mahsa Amini protests, which it was suggested might cost him his place in Iran's World Cup squad. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, but Azmoun didn't start in Iran's heavy defeat against England, and he failed to find the back of the net against either Wales or the United States. Japan, Takumi Minamino. Among the biggest overachievers at the 2022 World Cup, and also seemingly among the most underpaid squads, Japan gave us shocks against Germany and Spain before going out to Croatia in the knockout stage. Yet most of their players don't earn a fraction of Germany, Spain, or Croatia's stars. Takumi Minamino is the Samurai Blues' highest earner, on a reported £77,500 a week at Monaco, having joined the league side from Liverpool over the summer just gone. He is followed by Takahiro Tomiyasu and Takefusa Kubo, but based upon his performances at the World Cup, you wouldn't be all that surprised if Brighton's Karu Mitoma soon became Japan's highest paid player. Mexico. Raul Jimenez. Mexico are another country whose highest paid player didn't make their World Cup squad, namely Javier Hernandez, or Chicharito, who hasn't won a cap since 2019, despite being Mexico's all-time leading goalscorer. They perhaps could have done worse than taking him, given the goals that he has been scoring in the MLS recently, combined with Mexico's inability to score against either Poland or Argentina. Henry Martin was Mexico's starting forward at the tournament, but it is Raul Jimenez, a man who is still recovering from a horrible skull fracture in some respects, who is Eltree's highest earner, on a reported £100,000 a week at Wolves. Morocco. Achraf Hakimi. The first African national team to make it through to a World Cup semi-final, and I should stress that I am recording this before the World Cup semi-finals have been played. It is absolutely no surprise that Achraf Hakimi is the best paid player in the Morocco squad. In Hakim Ziyech, Sofiane Amrabat, and Sofiane Boufal, among many others, Morocco have several impressive talents. But Hakimi is a key man for the club with the biggest wage bill in world football. He set Inter Milan back €40 million and PSG an even heftier potential €71 million. His supposed €172,000 a week salary then is about what you would expect. The Netherlands. Matthijs de Ligt. Maybe a slight surprise to some people, Matthijs de Ligt, Virgil van Dijk, and Frenkie de Jong are the Netherlands' three highest earners, but it is de Ligt who comes out on top. I should stress there that is de Jong's reported stated salary that makes him the third highest paid Dutch footballer, not how much Barcelona actually pay him, which would put him narrowly behind your average clog manufacturer or windmill operator in Amsterdam. De Ligt joined Bayern Munich last summer for a potential €80 million, signing a 5-year deal reported to be worth £265,000 a week, which is just a little bit more than Virgil van Dijk is said to earn at Anfield. Poland. Robert Lewandowski. Robert Lewandowski is obviously the highest paid player in the Poland squad. That won't come as a surprise to anyone, but the amount that he earns more than everyone else in their squad isn't as extreme as it is in the case of, say, Davies with Canada or Navas with Costa Rica. Don't forget, Lewandowski took a pay cut to join Barcelona from Bayern Munich, albeit I wish I could take a pay cut, which put me on just £300,000 a week. The next highest paid player in the Poland squad, earning about 2/3 what Lewandowski reportedly does, is Wojciech Szczesny, which, again, won't come as any great surprise to anyone. Portugal. Bruno Fernandes. Well, this is a bit of an odd one, because at the start of this World Cup, Cristiano Ronaldo was the highest paid player in the Portugal squad by an absolute mile, but his contract at Manchester United was terminated at the tournament after he gave a not particularly edifying interview with Piers Morgan, but if he does indeed sign a crazy contract in Saudi Arabia and link up with Vincent Aboubakar at Al Nassr for the reported fees involved, he would become not just Portugal's highest paid player once again, but potentially the highest paid player in the world. As it happens though, at the time of this recording, it is Bruno Fernandes, who is paid a supposed £250,000 a week at Ronaldo's former club Manchester United. Qatar. Unknown. Every member of Qatar's 26-man strong World Cup squad plays their club football in the Qatar Stars League, and since there is no reliable data with regards to salaries in the division, it is difficult to know who the best paid player is in the Qatar squad. One would imagine that it would be either Almawez Ali or Akram Afif, who are Qatar's star men, and I would expect them to be paid somewhere in the region of £50,000 to £60,000 a week, if not a little bit more. But since that would be pure speculation on my part, it is worth emphasising that it is just that. Whoever it is, and however much they earn though, on the basis of their World Cup campaign, it is far too much. Saudi Arabia. Salim El Darsari. Not as obvious perhaps as some of the bigger standout names, since most of you probably don't follow an awful lot of Saudi Arabian football, but Salim El Darsari is Saudi Arabia's best player by some distance, and it is therefore no surprise that he is also their biggest hitter when it comes to his pay packet. The 31-year-old, who has only ever played for Al Hilal in the Saudi Pro League, with the exception of a solitary appearance that he made on loan at Villarreal in the 2017-18 season, scored the winning goal for Saudi Arabia in their historic opening game victory against Argentina. Saudi Arabia's 7 highest earners all played their club football for Al Hilal, and Al Darsari, on a reported £58,000 a week, is the highest paid by some margin. Senegal, Kalidou Koulibaly. It would have been Sadio Mane for Senegal had he not been removed from their squad due to injury, though it should be said that there is virtually nothing to separate Koulibaly and Mane's salaries. Both earn roughly £300,000 a week reportedly, and then there is a massive drop-off to Idrissa Gana Gueye, which I have always thought to be a really unfortunate name for a homophobe who earns just a little bit less than half that amount. Serbia, Dusan Vlahovic. I actually thought Luka Jovic might still have been the highest earner in the Serbia squad, despite having left Real Madrid now, but he is absolutely nowhere near. Dusan Vlahovic is Serbia's best paid player by a country mile, on well over double anyone else's salary in their squad, reported to be earning £215,000 a week since signing for Juventus. He is followed by Sergej Milinkovic-Savic and Nikola Milenkovic, but as I say, not followed very closely. South Korea, Son Heung-min. Earning over 3 times as much as anyone else in the South Korea squad, before what even accounts for his massive domestic commercial rights and endorsement deals, Son Heung-min is a near messianic figure in his homeland. The greatest South Korean footballer of all time, I think that it would be fair to say at this stage, Son earns a reported £192,000 a week at Tottenham, which is a little more than triple Kim Min-jae's supposed earnings whilst playing for Napoli. Spain, Koke. No doubt this one will come as a surprise, but bizarrely, 5 out of the 6 highest paid Spanish footballers are either retired from international football or didn't make Luis Enrique's 26-man squad for the 2022 World Cup. That includes David De Gea, who is the second highest paid Spaniard in world football, behind only Pep Guardiola, and the one exception to that rule is Koke, who did make the squad, but didn't start a single game for Spain and reportedly earns £264,000 a week playing for Atletico Madrid. Switzerland, Xherdan Shaqiri. I would have put a pound on Granit Xhaka being Switzerland's top earner before I made this video, and, well, I would have lost that pound since the Arsenal man earns less than Xherdan Shaqiri. Shaqiri left Lyon to join Chicago Fire almost a year ago, and in doing so he became briefly the highest paid and now the second highest paid player in Major League Soccer, with a guaranteed annual compensation of $8.153 million, which works out at around $157,000 or £128,000 a week. That's not bad going at all, and it makes it rather a lot easier to understand why the former Stoke City star headed stateside. Tunisia, Youssouf Moussakni. I don't know why I'm just laying bare all of my ignorances like this when I could just pretend that I knew all of this without doing any research, but if you had have asked me to name Tunisia's highest paid player before making this video, I would have taken a stab at Wabi Kazri on about £40,000 a week. Kazri is indeed Tunisia's second highest earner, though reported on closer to £60,000 a week, but the highest paid player in their World Cup squad was Youssouf Moussakni, who reportedly earns an enormous £87,000 a week at Qatar Stars League outfit Al Arabi on loan from fellow Qatari club Al Duhail. Moussakni has a great record in Qatar, but that is an absolutely crazy amount of money for a man of his fairly mediocre talents, which were illustrated by the fact that he didn't even get on the pitch in Tunisia's only World Cup win, which came against France. The United States, Christian Pulisic. The LeBron James of soccer, it is no surprise that Christian Pulisic is the highest paid player in the US MNT's World Cup squad, though I was a little surprised to discover that he earns almost twice as much as anyone else within their ranks. Pulisic is apparently on £150,000 a week at Chelsea, despite not having been a regular starter since getting injured in the 2020 FA Cup final, at a time when he was enjoying the best form of his career. And America's second best paid player, Zach Steffen, actually plays in the Championship on loan at Middlesbrough from Manchester City. The likes of Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie could seemingly do with better agents. Uruguay. Federico Valverde. A tough one to call given Darwin Núñez's recent big money move to Liverpool and the fact that Ronald Araujo recently signed a new contract with Barcelona, but ultimately, it is Uruguay's main man who is raking in the most dough. Federico Valverde penned a new 6-year deal at Real Madrid in 2021, reported to be worth a little over £180,000 a week, and given his form over the last 18 months, that now looks to have been a very shrewd piece of business by Los Blancos. Wales. Aaron Ramsey. In the last instalment of Things That I Was Wrong About, how much do most of you reckon Gareth Bale is earning in the MLS? I have given you a clue since he isn't the highest earner in the Wales squad, and American viewers may well be better informed on this topic than I was, but the answer is that he's on about £27,000 a week. That is less than fellow former Premier League players playing in the MLS like Victor Wanyama, Carlos Hill, and Christian Benteke. It means that Bale isn't even among the top 10 highest earners in this Wales squad. Meanwhile, Aaron Ramsey, despite earning just a tiny fraction of what he was on at Juventus these days, is still Wales' highest paid player, and by some margin. Contracted to Ligue 1 side Nice these days, Ramsey is said to be earning a pretty nice £125,000 a week, which is more than Ben Davies and well over double anyone else in Rob Page's squad. So that is it for today's video, but thank you all very much as ever for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if that was the case, and you are feeling especially generous at this time of year. Feel free to leave your comments down below in the comments section. Not sure where else you'd be able to leave them. Just sort of scribble them on a toilet door, I suppose, or something like that. And obviously, make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. You can also find me personally on both Twitter or on Instagram via the username @HITC Sevens on both, should you wish to do so.